Everyone, this video is for those two ERD questions in assignment 2. The first ERD question is question 9. So it asks you to create a MWB file according to the tables in figure question 3.8. So please pay attention to the instructions. So this time you need to upload the whole data model, not a PNG image, because you need to include both attributes and data records into your ERD. So first thing is we need to infer the business rule based on this figure. So here we have two tables, one professor table, one student table. So here student code is the primary key of the student table, while the professor code is the primary key of the professor table. So the professor code then in the student table serves as the foreign key to maintain the one-to-many relationship between professor and student. But the minimum and maximum cardinalities of both tables of both entity are needed to be inferred by this figure. So here we can see so this professor code 2 appears twice in the foreign key column in the student table, which means one professor can advise more than one student, right? So otherwise this professor code 2 cannot appear more than once. And also this professor code 3 does not appear in anywhere in the professor codes of the students table in this foreign key columns, which means some professor may not advise any student, right? So otherwise this professor code 3 must also appear in some cells or at least one cell. So that's the reason we will say let me use a textbook to illustrate the business rule. So one professor can advise 0 to many student, or you can say 0 to many student. And for the student table, so every student code, they either have no associated professor code, or if they have an associated professor code, they can only have one. So which means some students may not have any professor as their advisors, while those who have a professor advisors, they can only have one. So we will say one student can be advised by 0 to 1 professor. Okay, so this is a business rule for this figure question 3.8. We will use this business rule to create a relationship later. But first thing is we need to create those two tables, right? So the first table, which is a table on the one side, is a professor table. The primary key here is the professor code, and this table also has another non-prime attribute called department code. So professor code is primary key, and department code is another non-prime attribute. So for this ERD, please use the table name, attributes names, and also later the data records as this figure shows. Okay, so the second table, which is a table on the minute side, is the student table. Primary key is I think the student code. STU. Okay. While the foreign key is professor code. So remember, we always use the primary key in the parent table, which is a table on the one side, as the foreign key in the child table, which is the table on the many side, if the relationship is a one-to-many relationship. And the attribute name and the data type you used must be consistent with what you used in the parent table. This is a mistake many of you have made in assignment 1. So okay, so now we have those two tables. Then the next step is to create a relationship. So this is as I said, one-to-many relationship according to the figure, and professor code is the foreign key. So we always, this is similar to assignment 1. We always first click the foreign key and then the primary key. So you can see this is a one-to-many relationship, but we need to change the minimum cardinalities here for both tables, because one professor can advise 0 to many students. So here we should have a 0 instead of a 1. And also one student can be advised by 0 to 1 professor. So here the minimum cardinality should also be 0 instead of 1. So to change the minimum cardinalities, you need to either you can double click the relationship line, or you can right click the relationship line and select added relationship. Here this is the editing window for the relationship. Go to the second tab called foreign key, and now you can see both tables are set as mandatory. Please unclick the mandatory checkbox for both tables. Now you can see the minimum cardinality of both sides become 0. This means, as the business rule says, one professor can advise 0 to many students, and one student can be maybe advised by one professor. Okay, that's all for the for those two tables. Until now, the creation process is similar to what we have for those two ERDs in assignment 1. But for this assignment, you need to also, according to the instructions here, you need to also include the data records for both tables. For data records, please use what this figure provides. Okay, which means the for the student code, you need to use those numbers. And let's first create the data records for the professor table, which is on the one side. Right? So here, double click the professor table. The first tab here is called columns, which means attributes. And to insert data records into the table, please go to this Inserts tab, and you can see those are two columns, two attributes you create for the professor table. And you just need to insert those data records according to this figure question 3.8. Okay, for professor code, first record professor code is 1, department code is 2. Second professor code is 2, department code is 6. Next one, professor code is 3, department code is also 6. Next one, professor code is 4, and the department code is 4. Okay, so those are all 4 records for the professor table. So please remember to click this apply the changes button. Otherwise, what you just insert into will not be recorded. This is professor table. And the student table here, also go to the Insert tab. Here are 2 attributes, 2 columns you create for the student table. The student code, which is a primary key, and also the professor code, which is a foreign key for this one-to-many relationship. So for the student code, as I said, please use what this figure provides. Okay, the first one is 100278. No professor code associated, because it is allowed that some students may not have any professor as their advisors. And the second one is 128569. And this student has an associated professor code, which is professor 2. Okay, and next one is 512272, professor code 4. Next one is 531235, professor code also 2. Next one is 531268, no professor code associated. Next one is 553427, professor code is 1. And that's all. For the student table, please also click Applied Changes. Okay, now we have both those 2 tables, relationships, and also the data records. So that's all for the first ERD question. So this time, please save them as a model instead of a PNG, because if you just export a PNG file, I cannot verify if you do have data records or not, right? So the image cannot tell if you have data records or not. So please just save it as a model it should be a MWB file. So this one you could say question 9 and save it. Okay, you see this one? Question 9 MWB. This is a file you should upload for this question 9. Okay, so that's all for question 9. And another ERD question is okay, is this question 17. So this one is a little bit difficult, but the process is similar. So again, we need to first infer the business rules. So here, okay, so it only asks you to create the ERD for the relationship between stone and region. Okay, so then it's much easier. So here, the region code is a primary key of the regions table, and it has another non-prime attribute called region description, and this stone store table, the store code is a primary key, and this region code is a foreign key to maintain the one-to-many relationship between the regions and the stone. So one region can have many stones, and one stone is located in one and only one region. So this makes sense according to the common knowledge, right? So okay, so let's start MySQL Workbench for another ERD. Add diagram. Okay, here one region can have many stones, right? Because both those two region codes 1 and 2, they both appeared more than once in the stone table. This is foreign key column, which means one region can have more than one stone. And also according to the values in this foreign key column, one region has at least one stone, right? Because they both appeared at least once. And one stone is located in one and only one region. So every stone, they have a region code, and they must have a region code, must only have one region code. Okay, let's say the business rules is one region has one too many stone, and one stone is located in one and only one region. Okay, so this is the business rule. Then we can create those two tables according to the business rule. So first table is the table on the one side, which is also the parent table. So region table. So also please for this second ERD questions, please also use table name, table, please also use what the image provides for the table names, which is also the entity names, attribute names, and data record. So the primary key here is the region code, and the second non-prime attribute, region description. So that's all for the table on the one side for the parent table. The second table is the stone table. Prime key stone code should be. And then stone name. Stones are yearly, I think that's a yearly sales number. So for this one, please use the decimal 92 as the data type. Next one is actually the foreign key column. The foreign key attributes should be the region's code, same attribute name and same data type. Last one is the employee code. This is actually another foreign key for the one-to-many relationship between employee and stone, but that's not a requirement for this question. Okay, so that's all for those two tables. The next step is that one-to-many relationship. Also, first click the foreign key and then the primary key. So this time, since both minimum cardinalities are 1, so we actually don't need to change anything here for the relationship line. Okay, that's all for those two tables, but we also still need to insert data records into those two tables. For the region table only has 2 data records. First one is region code 1, description is east, and second region code 2 is description is west. Okay, that's all for the region table. Please click this apply changes button to save your records. And the stone table has 5 records. Also go to the insert tabs. Those are the 5 columns you just created. I just created. So our first one is stone code 1, name is card access junction, yearly sales, region code is 2. Actually, it's only for this foreign key column, it can only has value 1 or value 2. It cannot have any other value. Employee code 8. Second data record, database. Region code is also 2. Employee code 12. Okay, so this employee code I think is for the one-to-one relationship for the employee managed stone relationships. There are actually 2 relationships between the employee table and the stone table. One is a one-to-many relationship. One stone can have many employees. Another is the one-to-one managed relationship. One employee as the manager can manage one and only one stone. So okay, so anyway, this is not a requirement for this question. Okay, the next record stone code 3. Region code 1, employee code 7. Next one are stone code 4. Region code is 2, employee code is 3. So okay, so again, this employee code column tells which employee is the manager for an associate stone. So last one is employee code is 5. Okay, it's called prime key point. Region code 1, employee code is 15. Okay, so that's all for the stone table, the second table. Please also apply changes to save your record. And that's all for the second ERD. Please also, according to the instruction, save it as a model. This time not a PNG file, because as I said, I cannot verify if you do have data records or not according to an image. So I need the whole model. Okay, so this is question 17. And yeah, those are the 2 MWB files you need to upload for those 2 ERD questions in assignment 2. Okay, so yeah, that's all for this video.